Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love. For those who love to do them, I'm here with Jonny H. We have got some new transfer news, views and clues from around the traps today. Newcastle United, Liverpool, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid and Chelsea all on the radar. But the primary story of today, before I bring Jonny in, is all about Manchester United. The new version of Manchester United, a version that's a little bit sickly, if I'm entirely honest. It doesn't feel very nice to think of a club of this size and magnitude doing the things that they're doing. And some of this stuff is really shameless. We're here to discuss it with you guys. So make sure you smash the like and subscribe and drop some comments as we go through it. Jonny, how are you, my man?
I'm fine, obviously a bit of a lull now. Feels weird now. Watched the Chelsea game last night. Betis put up a good performance in the first half, but Maresca did a bit of chess, moved a few pieces around, and more or less destroyed them in that second half. At the end of the day, the only club to bring shame on London as far as a trophy this season seems to have been Arsenal.
Well, they did it, didn't they? Just with the female team.
Chelsea won a trophy. Palace won a trophy. Wimbledon won a trophy, Charlton won a trophy, and Spurs won a trophy. So if you're watching, Arsenal fans, it's time to buck your ideas up after spending £800 million.
Or F off down the female Emirates for a little bit more.
Well, yeah, okay.
We'll
We'll acknowledge the achievement, obviously, of the ladies' team, but we're referring at the moment to the men's team and the men's game, as we don't really cover the women's game at the moment. We haven't got a female correspondent to give us the lowdown on the women's game. But you know what? As Spurs fans, Sean, myself included, we bemoan Daniel Levy and the board and the rest of it. And,
you do. I don't. I'm okay with my own. I think my chairman.
No, I'm saying many do. And the point I'm trying to make here is that, Man United fans, they were far from happy with the Glazers. And I don't blame them. Leverage buyout, literally been raping Manchester United for years. No investment in the ground. Beautiful Old Trafford hasn't been maintained. Charrington, the training ground hasn't been updated. And when I was there earlier in the season, it had holes in the roof. Water was coming through. That's not the Man United that I know and grew up with. They're not my team. But, you respect them, Ferguson, Busby and the likes. So this demand to get a new owner in was granted. It wasn't the Saudi or Qatari-backed ownership that the fans craved. In came Ineos with Jim Ratcliffe and promised to, make things right. Unfortunately, the old adage is what we always say, Sean, sometimes be careful what you wish for. Because this guy seems to have ripped apart the heritage of Manchester United. There is nothing sacred. Alex Ferguson, fans, staff, doesn't matter how long you've been there, staff gone, Alex has gone, fans treated appallingly, charities, money's gone, ticket prices up, and we'll go through them all, but last night's was like a cherry on the top, which was 200 odd thousand fans were watching Manchester United YouTube last night, and after about 20-30 seconds, the feed stopped. And if you want to watch this game, it's an end of season game in Asia, for God's sake. If you want to watch this game, you now have to subscribe to Man United TV and pay for it. I think the way they're treating the fans and Ratcliffe's treating the fans and this mass cull of everything that's sacred is definitely backfiring. As I say, I'm not a Man U fan, but a lot of the Man U fans that I speak to, from people who know people on the board to your regular fans, say that Ratcliffe is already in a short space of time become more hated somewhat than the Glazers, from the guy and the car park attendant, to certain fans. And some of his decisions, also, Sean, allowing Ten Hag, who really should have been sacked last summer, to stay on after that FA Cup win over Man City, and then handed a big war chest to go and spend in the summer, and find himself out of a job in November. And they're bringing Amorim, who's trying to work with a squad that in no shape, way or fits his system. But what was your thought, before I go through them all? I mean, what was your thoughts on a lot of this now?
Yeah, look, I think that, every fan doesn't want to be treated like a customer. They want to have a special relationship with the club because of their loyalty towards them and towards the people at the top. But, at the end of the day, I think that people are incredibly naive if they think that the people that are billionaires get where they've got in life, if they're businessmen to have made that money, by being anything other than ruthless. I don't care, pick your billionaire. If they're a businessman, they've done some things in their life where they have, in all likelihood, treated people, staff, customers, whatever, employees, just people on the street, with a level of disdain. And I think that, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you just look at the world that he involves himself in at Ineos. He's not a clean guy. He's involved in, chemical engineering and those sorts of things that are just, there's a whole bunch of stories about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So when he signed up and was the guy that took over, I know that most Man United fans were obviously unhappy. They wanted the Qatar thing because they think that those sorts of guys have they'll park any of those kind of, other issues with moral stuff or whatever you want to call it, park all that stuff and just think because they have a different relationship with money, they have more in the ground than's ever been printed in the history of mankind, that, that they're obviously the right way forward in terms of being able to show ambition and be able to create opportunities for Manchester United. Of course, the PSR and the FFP thing don't really allow for anyone just to come in, no matter what their levels of wealth are, to be able to come in and just immediately just pump money into the club. Now, there's mechanisms and methods in which they can, push numbers around via a clever accounting. Sell your left arm to your right arm and loan it back. Sell your women's team, sell your hotels, all those things that we've seen more prominently from Chelsea. That wasn't the way that Sir Jim Ratcliffe did it, and he's sort of cried poor the entire time. And I know you're going to go through the list of most recent things.
We were about to go bankrupt. I mean, he said that last
cuts. Yeah, he said last Christmas that, if they didn't do certain things, they wouldn't be able to keep the lights on. One of the things that I thought was just a really, really nasty kind of unnecessary thing to do is to have, taken away the Christmas bonuses of, I think it was like 100 or something, or 200 ground staff that do 10. If they do 10 consecutive games, I forget the details specifically, but if they do that, then they used to get a 200 quid bonus around Christmas time, something like that, and that was taken away. And how much money are you really saving here? Now, I know you've got your data and your stats and your examples. I'll let you go with it. I don't know if those things include the actual estimated cost savings, but in terms of like the impact on some of the staff and the fans versus the payoff versus the kind of what money you're looking for, it's really nickeling and diming here. And I think that I think that they are missing the wood for the trees if they don't see the impact of their decisions. It's not a nice thing to see on a bunch of different reasons. Johnny, I'll hand back to you, mate, to go through your list.
I just think that, yes, you need to try and save money, but, have some humanity, have some humility that, do you cull every single, the tea lady that's been there for 45 years, or, whatever, the grounds, the car park attendant, Dave, the groundsman, car park guy, or the groundsman, or whoever, who's been there all his life. Do you just cull them like that without, I don't think he has any care about any of it, judging by, the things. I mean, so the first thing, right, is 450 job losses. Okay. He's cut. That's what he hopes to do. 450. And that he thinks will save him 40 million. He's reduced all the staff meals now, closed the staff canteen, and he's given them some a piece of fruit and the leftovers. If there's any leftovers, apparently from the meals served to the paying people, if there's anything left over. So he hopes to cull about a quarter of the workforce. I don't know sure exactly who they're going to cull. I mean, this is a guy who's only inherited and bought out a quarter of the club. So it'd be interesting to see where he goes. From last August, it revealed that as part of Ratcliffe's far-reaching penny-pinching measures, a number of match day areas were set to be slashed. The club's army of agency staff were previously given a lunchbox which included a sandwich, cereal bar, a bag of crisps and a soft drink. All right. However, many were dismayed to find the offering had vanished completely in their first match of the season against Fulham. Some staff were told that instead they'd be given leftovers. United said that while some of the food offered was the same, they insisted it wasn't leftovers. Workers have even claimed that they were being forced to eat by the toilet. They set up a dining table next to the toilet since they closed the staff canteen. Match day programme spending, look at this one, has also been rowed back, with Old Trafford's corporate suites, which cost thousands of pounds per game, only be given 5 programmes per box, even though they have 10 seats in the box. I mean, how far penny pinching. I mean, United said at the time they were providing half the capacity of the boxes with programmes and had acted after identifying wastage, with many of the magazines found in the bins following the game. I mean, come on. Here's one that really got me. Ending Sir Alex Ferguson's contract and scrapping the club Christmas party, October 2024. Sir Alex Ferguson came the most high-profile victim of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's ruthless cost-cutting at Man United. The club's legendary manager lost his £2 million a year contract as a global ambassador in October. Ratcliffe informed Ferguson of his decision, bringing to an end 38 years as a paid employee of United. Sources insisted the meeting could have been entirely amicable, and the 82-year-old Ferguson, who will keep his title, will remain at the club. The most successful manager in United's history had maintained a close ties with the club since his retirement from the dugout in May 2013, after subsequently signing a deal worth $2 million as a global ambassador. For the last 11 and a half years, Ferguson's duties have included representing United all over the world. So, I mean, this is a guy who's travelling. He's your ambassador. He's known throughout the world, as well as matchday hospitality with the club partners and sponsors and making appearances. Anyway, raising ticket prices, November 24. It was announced that Man United would raise the price of matchday tickets and scrapping all concessionary benefits for old age pensioners and children. Right? Prior to United's home game against Everton in November, they're first in sharing the new ticket prices, first 10 out in their hundreds outside of Man United to protest at the decision to raise ticket prices. In front of the Trinity statue, United fans held up a sign, "Stop exploiting the loyalty banner," with chants of Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers, accusing them of being touts and taking the piss, obviously.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. In a hugely controversial move, prices had started at £40 and $25 for children have now been reclassified to the highest classic grade A ticket. So what was a ticket before at 25 is now the highest category. I can carry on. Go on. What were you going to say?
Oh, no. So just, I mean, look, there's collateral damage, right? So there's many different
charity donations, Sean.
Hang on, there's many different. Is that a new thing?
Yes. So charity donations in the latest cost-cutting measures. Jim Ratcliffe has cancelled all charity donations for club legends. City donated 40,000 each year to a non-profit setup to help former players, but there are now fears this will cease to exist. The Association of Former Man United Players was founded in 1985 to support players who did not make the mouth-watering salaries of the modern era. Red Devils such as Brian Robson, Brian Kidd and Dennis Irwin are among the 300 former players that the charity now supports.
Mm. Look, I mean, look, I'm sure there's other things as well. There's other lists as well, right? So it's not for nice. It's not nice reading that. For what it's worth, I don't support child concessions being cut. In terms of pension concessions, for what it's worth, I think there is an argument, and I made the same thing when it happened at Tottenham, that the world is moving into a situation where essentially 65% of the Western world is going to be a pension age either now or in the next 10 years, right? So if everybody that's a pensioner or becoming a pensioner should expect to have, discounts and concessions, then it makes it incredibly problematic for everybody else. And the club do need to raise money in that direction. And also for what it's worth, and I know that the statistic around 1 in 4 pensioners is a millionaire, that is generally speaking, that money's caught up in their house. So it's not the same as being liquid. I'm not suggesting that it's not a difficult conversation, but I think that there is some element of reason and logic to the notion that you can't give everybody in the stadium a senior citizen discount. So I think that there's some conversation there that's reasonable. I don't know where the line in the sand is.
You can have a small section.
Yeah, but then how do you justify who gets in and who doesn't, right? So it becomes problematic. I'm just saying that I don't know the specifics of United's makeup and their demographic, but if it's the same as Tottenham's, it becomes a little bit problematic. And I think that there's difficult decisions that have to happen there. With regards to children, I think you're running the risk of pricing out generations of fans, right? So I think that and families can't, fathers and mothers can't afford certainly to pay for 4 or 5 tickets if they're all fully priced and there's no concessions at all. So I think there's massively problematic things, and you have to keep one eye on the future as much as you do the present, and you have to pay the bills. What I would say, not in defense of the chairman, but just as a consideration, and by the way, I will add to the slaughter to Jim Ratcliffe here by saying, I guarantee you that they still have champagne at their board meetings. I guarantee you they still eat caviar and salmon, all those things. I'm sure there's been very few in the way of cuts that affect their enjoyment.
They're not eating sandwiches, Sean. They're not eating sandwiches.
100%, right? 100%. Yeah. The other consideration here, though, right, is why is it that they have, just to get this thing back up, this is a BBC article, right? So on the BBC article, it says here that...
Go on. I'm just going to say, if you are a Man United fan and you are listening to this, please drop a comment in the thing before so we can hear what your thoughts and views on this are. Because obviously, as being Spurs fans, we're looking at from the outside looking in. So be really interested to see what your slant and what your thoughts are on this.
100%. Please smash the like button. By the way, guys, we decided to monetize the channel today. We've been able to do it for a while. We haven't done it, but so the option's there if you want to help us out in any way. But there's obviously no requirement. But please smash a like and subscribe. So it says about 250 employees were made redundant during the first round, saving the club between 8 and 10 million quid. Now let's think about the impact there, Johnny. Right now, we already heard with regards to the Bilbao debacle, where Sir Jim Ratcliffe basically said he couldn't afford or couldn't justify paying for all of the staff to get out there. And Daniel Levy had a wonderful PR win. And by the way, this is not just a slate against Manchester United and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because the same arguments could be made against most chairmen of most football clubs. There is let's pull the ladder up, Jack, and fuck the rest, when it comes to it. But think about the impact versus the reward. 8 to 10 million pound. That's Marcus Rashford's salary in 2 months, right? That's been saved by 250 employees that are probably on minimum wage or not far away, that have now they've got to go and find a new job in an economy that doesn't look great. Take a look outside, wherever you're watching this from. I'm sure you're seeing a whole load of for sale house signs going up. Feels to me like there's a big problem coming on the horizon. But 250 people lose their job, and 1,100 employees was the initial number. So 1 in 4, essentially, just under 1 in 5 employees are losing their job in order to save 8 and 10 million pound. Like, it's like the question where I'm leading this kind of this question, this insight is like, should there be some levity? Like, you're making the point about Sir Alex Ferguson, right? An ambassador of the club. He's 82 years old. He loves that football club. Could he not, if this whole purpose is to keep Manchester United competitive, because as it says at the bottom here of this article, that they have lost 370 million pound over the last 5 years through mistakes that have been made, not by the fans, but by the top end of their team, right? That the directors of football, the manager, the coaching staff, and of course the owners, they've lost that much money. They owe 313 million in outstanding transfer payments to the club. By the way, that's fairly standard. That shouldn't be that alarming of a number. Tottenham owed 260, for example. But my point is that it's the mistakes of the wealthy and the highly paid that are being figured out, and the costs of that are being felt in the people that are the kind of rank and file employees of Manchester United that give up their job, that probably could do something else, but they love Manchester United, and so they're willing to take a pay cut. Now they're losing their jobs. But ultimately, Johnny, if Sir Alex Ferguson loves Manchester United and his pay is that big of a deal, he's got enough money. Could he do it for free? And to the same point, I'll ask you the same question. Is there any responsibility here on the players who get paid fucking fortunes to put in shit shows like this season has just seen, for them to say, do you know what? If it stops those 250 people losing their jobs and all that you're going to save is £8 to £10 million, then can the players in that squad not fall on their sword a little bit and take the heat off Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the owners and say, actually, we haven't really earned our bonuses? How many of those players got bonuses for getting to the final but not winning it? Right? An incredible amount. Is it just easy for all of the fans to point up to the chairman and say, you're a disgrace, when those players are picking up 200 grand a week, 300 grand a week, and not pulling their weight? Should any of them sit there and say, if it keeps those people in their job, I'm not just going to pay for their flight to Bilbao like Patrice Evra did, or whoever it was, Bruno Fernandes, but actually I'll forego my bonus because I had a shit season, and if it keeps them guys employed? Is there any kind of argument there that they should be doing that? I don't know.
I think, look, for me, when I'm a player and I'm earning good money, but I'm looking at my two owners who are both billionaires, right? They're multi-billionaires, right? Okay, so, they didn't make that decision to pay them that money. They didn't make the decision to lose the money. Yes, 100% right. They have not delivered for Casemiro on 300 grand, Rashford on 300 plus grand. They haven't delivered. My point is what sort of business are you running when you're looking to cull and save £8 million, right, on people who are potentially the heart and soul of the club, who have been there for 20, 30, 40 years, and it means nothing. You're just a number. Gone, right?
Horrendous.
It's what you're doing is you're removing the heart and soul of the club for numbers.
And worse than that, Johnny, mate, those that are staying, those that have stayed, right? The canteen, the physiotherapist, the kit guy, those guys that are staying, that have lost their buddies, right? That are buddies that have been cut off, the buddies that have been let go. What sort of energy does that set around the place, at the training ground, at the stadium? Does it create an environment that can then manifest that negative energy into things like what you're seeing in the season?
I mean, of course, the like I said to you, the car park guy or the tea guy or the security guy who works all year, he loves the club, but come Christmas, that 200 quid bonus is massive. It's absolutely massive, and I think. I actually think that it's an absolute disgrace, that you're going to cull a 200 quid bonus or £100 bonus to save some money. Meanwhile, they're just signing Matthias Cunha. I'd love to know what wages they're going to pay him.
North of 100 grand a week, and
it's more like, I can guarantee you, it's more like north of 200 grand a week. Any money you like, right? Any money you like.
Maybe.
And I just think, the other thing that was quite funny was the cherry, is an amusing cherry on the top, was the fact that Man United just got a 2-star hygiene rating, right? Out of 5.
Is it mouse droppings or something? Rat droppings or whatever?
Rat droppings, mice droppings, which means that obviously the Man United barbecue's probably been cancelled due to salmonella. But the whole thing, you've got the ground falling apart. You've got Charrington, made in a complete mess. And this guy's coming in and he's probably saying, oh, my God, look what I've done. Where was his due diligence to find, it's a surprise. Unless I get rid of all these staff, get rid of all the things, get rid of charitable donations, remove the donations for people who back in the day, the Brian Robsons and that, who earned money, but nowhere near the money they earn today, who are struggling on hard times. The club is supporting them. They're not like living, tripping the light fantastic, but it's helping them make ends meet as servants of the club. And, you know, with the amount of money in football and the amount of money Manchester United generate around the world, I think it's the least they can do. And like you said before, how petty is removing the child concessions for the next?
I just think it's more around just logical. Like, how long does? So I made this conversation. I had this conversation with you a few weeks ago. And by the way, Reese, I'm going to come to your super chat. You've broken our super chat cherry, mate. Thank you. I'll do that right now. Actually, best YouTuber for football finance on the net. Keep up the good work, guys. Appreciate that. I'm not sure if you're referencing Johnny or me as the final guy, but either way, mate. Reese, by the way, I've just dialed into my my Proton email for the first time in a couple of weeks following Bilbao, and I've seen that you've sent me a few things. I haven't had a chance to read through them, but I will certainly take a look and come back to you, mate. Thank you very much for super chat, mate. It means getting us off and going. I really appreciate it, mate. You broke our cherry. Thank you very much. What I would say, mate, is just like, do you remember a few weeks ago, Johnny, we did a show, right, on the I was on Spurs Talk Show. It might have been on this channel as well. And we were talking about, I think I was reading out, like, there was a big article about multi-club ownership and the Americans that are trying to, private equity money trying to get in. And the first question that they ask is, what's my entry? And the second question they ask is, what's my exit?
Correct.
Right. So the intention for these people to come in with money, and I'm not necessarily putting Sir Jim Ratcliffe in that bucket because A, he's not private equity, and B, he's a United fan, an English guy and all that stuff. But he is the third or fourth biggest, richest man in England. I know he lost like 6 billion quid last year or something.
Oh, please for him, you know.
Yeah, I think he's still got like 16 billion or something, so he'll be okay. But like when the first question is your entry and the second question is your exit, then your determination is not to be here for a long time; it's to be here for a quick buck. And when you look at the world of football right now, and you see that there's really very little threat of relegation because the gap between those in the Championship that come up and those that are the ever-present big boys, including United in that world, is too big. So they're never going to get relegated. So therefore, you look at it and go, well, where's my risk? There really isn't very much in terms of revenue. Where's my upside? Well, you've got the Netflix for sport thing that can be renegotiated in 3 years' time that will treble their revenues in that regard. You know that there's going to be more money coming in from the renegotiated TV deals from around the world. So there's a never-ending stream of revenue opportunities, very little revenue risk. And yet, unless you're a team that relies on Champions League revenue. And a lot of these articles that I've read about Manchester United are talking about they have to fill the £100 million hole in their coffers because of the failure to qualify for the Champions League, like it was expected, like it was a guaranteed. I think that's a little bit cocky and arrogant given their downfall. But to me, I just sit there and think that is the reason why that people like Sir Jim Ratcliffe are happy to sacrifice. And Daniel Levy, by the way, did this. I'm going to include Daniel Levy in this because he did the same thing with Tottenham's concessions, which I don't think was cool. As I say, I understand it from the a little bit more from the senior citizens, but not the kids, because those kids are not going to be paying members of the public, Johnny, in terms of like their generation for another 20 years. And so is the reason why Sir Jim Ratcliffe don't care about those sorts of things is because that will be somebody else's problem in 20 years' time, because their intention is not to be here in 20 years to care about the next generation of kids.
I don't think he cares. Oh, by the way, you got the wrong backdrop for the Football Inc. I've just noticed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What was I going to say? Yeah, look, I think basically that Jim Ratcliffe has got his French club, hasn't he? And there was talk at the beginning of the season,
before we move on to the topic, though, what do you think about the kids? Do you think the kids is like a thing to dismiss because there's no future? They don't care about things that are happening 20 years later.
No. I think cutting off the kids is foolhardy and absolute nonsensical. It's nonsensical to me. When I look at some of the games towards the end of the season at whatever club, what I notice is if the season's fallen away, you get the hardcore fans think, or some of the fans think, you know what, there's nothing to play with this. I'm not going to go. And then what you see is a stadium full of kids where friends have donated their tickets to people who can't afford it, to their mates with their 2 kids or what have you. And you see lots and lots more kids at these games. And these are the kids. You see the excitement in these kids. They love it as much as we do. They are the future. And if you don't accommodate them and nurture them, they'll end up somewhere else. They'll end up falling in love with another club. I mean, yes, back in the day, you didn't go to the games. You fell in love with them if you could see it on TV, the odd game on television, until you were old enough. Now you're old enough to get there. The cost of actually getting there is prohibitive. So, no, I think it's a huge mistake. And I've got to tell you, Jim Ratcliffe is making Daniel Levy look like Mother Teresa. I'm telling you, honestly, it's quite unbelievable. It doesn't seem to be a day that goes by where he's not in the news again for some other crazy thing that he's done.
There's also not a day that goes by where people like to pretend like I'm Daniel Levy's poster boy or his love child or something. Alfred, I don't know why you posted like 10 comments and it all seems to be about me and my mate Daniel Levy. I give Daniel Levy, if you watch my channel, mate, I criticize Daniel Levy as much as I praise him. I just I don't think he's the pariah that people like you obviously do. But it's fair enough, mate. Each to their own. Look, we've been going for half an hour, Johnny. I want to. We've got 5 stories I want to talk about outside of the Manchester United chairman thing. Is there anything else? Any final thoughts on Sir Jim Ratcliffe?
No, I just would like, I would like if there's any Man United fans watching, I think we should change the title, the entry title here, because I feel like it's is he destroyed Man United? Did Jim Ratcliffe destroy the heart and soul of Man U? But I'd like to hear what they have to say, because we're from the outside looking in. Obviously, I listen to Goldbridge now and again and his rants, but I'd like to hear some, real Man U fans and what they think of the current situation, because it seems to be getting worse. And yet here they are, despite not making Europe, despite losing the final, they're already spending money. So what happened to the financial crisis? The lights were going off and a 200 million back hole when they've already signed Cunha. And it looks like they're trying to get hold of Brian Mbeumo. They're having talks with him. Let's see what happens. But it's a farce for me, and he should be called out.
Oh, I've changed the title. It's Sir Jim Ratcliffe destroying Manchester United. Let me talk about. We'll stick with Manchester United, mate, for the first transfer story of the day. We heard that the Manchester United obviously have wrapped up the signing of Matheus Cunha. Another player that they were looking at was Liam Delap. He is now not because Man United didn't want, they had the money to do it, but he's decided to go and chase after probably more money. But we heard yesterday or the day before that he had 2 conditions or 2 preferences. One was that he wanted to go back to the Northwest, where obviously he started out his time as a Manchester City youth player before moving to Ipswich. But the other thing was he wanted to play in the Champions League. And it looks by all accounts that Chelsea have won the race for his signature. A race that, weirdly enough, there wasn't that many teams that were pursuing him. It sounded like Newcastle were interested, United were interested, Chelsea were interested. And that was about it. Tottenham, for some reason, were not ever involved in any kind of conversation with him, which I find odd, because I think he would be an immediate improvement. Let's hope we've got other things, and we'll come to that a little bit later on. But he's ended up going to Chelsea, mate. What's your thoughts on Liam Delap? Oh, he hasn't gone yet, but it looks like he's going. What's your thoughts on Liam Delap to Chelsea? Is he an improvement on Nicholas Jackson?
I think they'll keep Jackson, and Cuckoo will go, whether he'll go on loan or get sold. But a combination of Jackson's pace and Delap's guile and physicality, I think they're a natural dovetail there, and they complement each other. 2 different styles. I think it's a great and like you said, I'm pretty shocked that no one else has bid in for him, with a buyout clause of only £30 million. I'm a little bit confused as to why Manchester City would sell him for a low fee and not have some sort of clawback on that number. I'm a bit surprised it's only 30 million, but whoever gets him, I think it's a really good buy. We've gone on about the virtues of Liam Delap.
I think he'll score 20 goals next season for Chelsea. I think easily he'll score 20 goals.
He definitely could. He's a real handful.
He scored 12 goals in a team who I think they only scored like 25 goals. I think it was Ipswich or something. So like that, I don't know how many goals they did actually score. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but for sure, give him enough chance. He's a handful in the air. He's got pace on him. He's got a lovely little Love a little acceleration for a big fella, old school forward, as you said yesterday, Johnny. And I think he'll do really well at Chelsea. And I think they've got an absolute bargain there, and it pisses me right off. Sticking with Manchester United, mate. Manchester United now, because they've also run out of juice in the squeeze for Brian Umbumo, however you say his name, a wonderful player that I think a lot of teams rather are all over him. Newcastle United looking for him, but because Manchester United need to now look to sell before they can buy, one of the stories out today is that Rasmus Højlund might be returning to Serie A this time to go to Inter Milan. Manchester United paid, according to this report, I didn't think it was this big, £72 million for Rasmus Højlund.
Well, listen, look,
stinkfest, isn't it? How much is he worth to Inter?
Look, I think when you look at some of the signings there, they've got a lot of money tucked in there. They've got Garnacho's worth money. They've got Kobe Mainu. They've got Rashford. Jadon Sancho could do a swap there, go back to Borussia Dortmund. They're quite like Gittins out there. So, maybe do a swap deal. United have a lot of weapons there. They might not have bundles of money, but they have quite a few players. Where their problem's going to be is their ridiculously high wages. And I can't see anyone committing 40 million to buy Marcus Rashford and paying over 300 grand a week. So I think they'll be loaning him out again for another season and keep doing it. Yeah. But not surprised Buemo's out their reach at the moment.
I just find it interesting. I mean, Rasmus Højlund, to me, if they were to look for an actual sale of him to Inter to try and recoup some fees, I don't think you're going to get anything more than about £30 million. If Liam Delap is worth £30 million with the English thing, I mean, obviously that's irrelevant. But Højlund was a big hit for Atalanta. He obviously is a good fit for the Serie A, the kind of slower pace, his strength, and maybe where he's happy. But to Inter Milan, I don't think Inter Milan are going to pay anything more than 35 million for him. So, was he been there one season at United, or was it 2 seasons? 1 season, right? So to lose probably half of your investment and have paid the guy whatever he gets paid, it's a hell of a hit to Manchester United to let go of him. If it's going to be a loan fee or a loan deal with a fee, doesn't really create what they're looking for, which is revenue and money to be able to go again. And so I just look at that and think. I also remember hearing in an article, I don't know if this is actually a quote or just a kind of inference, but the headline was that Amorim has told Garnacho that he had better wish or hope that he could find a club that's going to want him, because there's all these rumors that apparently there's been a bit of a micro bust up between the two, that Garnacho wasn't happy with only getting 52 games or whatever it was last season. Like there was a problem there, and that Garnacho, is like unhappy with his role at the football club. I mean, I don't understand what Garnacho wants. Right? How many more minutes can you play? How many more games can you participate in?
It's more than that, Sean. I think, it's about attitude. You can see the way he struts around the pitch. Look, there's no doubt the guy's got talent, right? But when you look at him and you look at someone like Ahmad, Ahmad's like head down, get on with it. But they were asked about Garnacho, Amorim, whether he was staying, and he pissed himself laughing.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? I don't know if
he says that all is not well in the United camp, right?
Yeah. And listen, he plays 3 at the back, and he needs the right tools. And right now, he doesn't have any of the right tools, really. So Cunha will be one of the first of maybe a few. But I think you'll see a lot of comings and goings in Man United.
Let me ask you this: if you're, I hate to make this about Tottenham, but you know what? Tottenham are part of football. So
thanks very much, Sam. Appreciate
you, Sam. Very nice of you, buddy. Very nice of you, mate. I appreciate that Tottenham are not. We've got Tottenham channels to talk about Tottenham on, but I want to ask you this: is there any? For me, Manchester United have got more than just the forward line to think about. I think that they've got a massive issue with their goalkeeping situation. I think that Onana, we spoke about this yesterday, so we won't chew over it too much. But if they're trying to raise money to be able to replace Onana or Bayindir, and if they're looking also, and they can't necessarily find a willing buyer for Rashford, and they have to just sort of loan him out with a fee again somewhere, maybe he'll go to Spain, maybe France, whatever else, right? But Is there any value, do you think, in maybe liquidating a player that I don't think he's been as great as? I mean, certainly I did a video about top 10 midfielders that Tottenham should be looking at last year. One of them was Manuel Ugarte. And I just wonder whether or not he's flattered to deceive a little bit at United this year. But I think there's a massive player there. And I just wonder whether or not there could be a deal that could be struck there with him leaving and going somewhere else, maybe to be the Monster Six at Tottenham, Johnny. I don't know if...
Listen, look, Casemiro's a massive drain on the wages. The legs are going, right? Look, they got Maguire. Listen, he's a leader. But look at it, Maguire, and you got Lindelof, right? I mean, honestly, it's falling apart there. And listen, I think they need to get rid of Onana and go and spend the money on getting an Emil Martinez or a Kelleher from Liverpool, somewhere a top-notch goalkeeper, because Onana has repeatedly made mistakes. United have got a massive rebuilding operation underway, but let's be fair. I think with no European football next year, this will be to their advantage, and I think this will play into Amorim's hands, really, and they'll be able to focus on the right thing. I mean, Ugarte will come good under Amorim's system. He knows the player well.
Great player.
He knows the player well from his time in.
I don't think he's had a terrible year at United. I just think that, like, the guy that I remember when he was in Portugal before he went to PSG was just top draw. At PSG, he was a baller. And I just don't think maybe it just takes a bit of time to acclimate, new country, new language, all those sorts of things. But yeah, I'm just saying that maybe there's something to liquidate there, but we'll see. Next story for you, mate, is one that's a little bit close to our own. He played last night. He had a really good first half. And then he kind of, when Chelsea buried Betis in the second half, he went a little bit, did a bit of a sort of disappearing act, a bit of the Houdini. And that is, of course, Jonny Cardoso, yeah. So the story out today is that actually he is going to move. He is going to leave Betis, but it's not going to be to Tottenham, and that Atletico Madrid are front and centre, which makes it all very odd. With we had this deal in place where they have to accept our bid if we put it in at £22 million, but that doesn't mean that Betis can't also accept a different bid if they want to. They just have to accept the bid at our price point if we want to make it. But it looks like Cardoso, according to reports, is deciding to stay in Spain and wants to go to Madrid, Atletico Madrid, that is. What's your thoughts on him? I mean, did you watch him last night?
Listen, I've watched him a few times, Sean. Unfortunately, I seem to watch him the time after he's had a good game. I tune in for the next game and he's gone MIA. He's not consistent enough. And going to Atletico Madrid under Simeone will do him the world of good. As long as he behaves himself, as long as he listens to the master, it will put him in good stead. There were some nice touches in the first half, but, he's not consistent enough. And, Spurs make a profit on the deal because we get a proportion of the sale. So
25% apparently.
Yeah. So, it works out well for everyone concerned. I never thought he was good enough. And stay in Spain, work under a great coach and improve your game. I mean, he worked under Pellegrini, who did well with him, the old master. But I think Simeone will, if anyone's going to take him to the next level, then great.
Yeah, I wasn't that impressed when I saw it last night. I mean, I only got to watch the second half. I was watching Sava. Shout out to you, Sava. I see you there in the chat. I'm watching his commentary for the first half, and then Phil P messaged me saying, you can watch the game for free via Discovery Plus, which I didn't know, and so grateful to that. But then I watched the second half and I saw Cardoso just vanish. So yeah, a little bit disappointing. But we shall see what happens. That's another story we'll keep an eye on here on Football Inc. Guys, smash the like. There's 150 people watching. We appreciate your attention.
Can I just got another one in there, Shawnee? Interesting one, quite a funny one. It is Spurs, but I thought it was rather humorous, and that is Christian Romero, who was interviewed about life in England, and he said it's tough. Not so much for me because I love coming and training in this country. But my family, it's very tough for them being locked up all the time because it's raining and it's freezing and they suffer a lot. I mean, is that a message that the guys had enough of this stinking weather? Meanwhile, it's sunny.
His family certainly have. His family certainly have. Do you know what? So
that locked up. What I mean? Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen. Yeah, welcome to our world, mate. Welcome to our world, right? We've been here. I've been here 41 years. I don't know how many years you've been here, Johnny, but it's it's I'll tell you what though, it's not a fair shout.
Because I'm in the basement, Sean. What do you mean locked up? I mean, can they not get out?
Well, I mean, maybe they just don't want to. I think obviously family comes first, right? He's a family guy. He's got his first baby, first child. He's a winner. I wish him well. If that's the message, then fair enough. If that's why he wants to leave because his family don't like it here, then so be it. Listen, I'll be honest. When I left England in 2013 and went abroad for 7-8 years, my first stop was Thailand, and then my second stop was Australia, where I stayed for 3 years. And I'll tell you what, I didn't have a pot to piss in financially at that point. It was the happiest I've ever been because being in the Australian sunshine around, I love Australian people. It was a brilliant time. So I do understand what the weather means to people. If you've experienced life in different climates, it can be a thing. However, for what it's worth, mate, in that interview, you're right. It sounds like he wants to go because his family's unhappy. However, there's another quote from Romero that says, "I'm happy.
Correct.
They make me feel like I'm an important player. I'm going to give my best until the last day I'm here." Is the last day that he's here though in the next couple of weeks, or
No, I think that unless someone comes in with a mega offer, he's definitely here till next year. I think they'll look to show ambition in the transfer market this winter to show that they mean business, to then try to convince him to sign an extension, whether it's a 1 year or 2 year extension onto his current contract. I think that's what they got to hope for. Because, Mark Gahey, which will be probably his likely player that he would go for, is now been linked with Bayern Munich. So I very much doubt whether Spurs could let him go because Hoisin Sauce is going to Real Madrid, ready for the Club World Cup. And with Gahey going, there's no natural replacement, in my opinion, to replace Cuti Romero. So it's a no.
There's plenty of centre backs out there. I just got to pour a little bit of cold water on the Palace story. I know that obviously they took Elise, right? So I'm not suggesting for a second that Palace are not more than happy to let their players go and would probably prefer them to go overseas. But at the same time, Bayern Munich don't benefit from the English homegrown thing. And so is there an argument to say that Palace, if Bayern Munich want them, would have to compete financially with a club that is willing to pay the little bit extra from the Premier League because they get the added value of not only a great player, but a player that's English and therefore counts towards the homegrown, which doesn't benefit Bayern Munich, but it does benefit Palace. And are Palace going to kind of cut their nose to spite their face and accept the lower bid to get him out of the country, and so they haven't got to fear him hurting them in the future? Is there an argument there, Johnny?
Bayern Munich have got the money. Don't worry about them. They're a behemoth, right? What with Kim struggling at the back, Kim Min-jae, and Eric Von Dyer leaving, they need another centre-back. And Mark Gahey, when he was younger, I remember seeing him about 18, 19 years of age. And he used to remind me a bit of a very young Ledley King. I'm not saying he's that level, but he's a very, very good defender. And I think he'd do very well out there. And, it's no surprise to me that a club like Bayern Munich have identified him as a natural fit to play at the highest level, where I think he would be comfortable, personally. And I think it's a great call by them. And, if you want a game-changing centre-back, when Kim's been out for far too long, they've had quite a few centre-backs they've tried. I think he'd be a great fit for them.
All right, well, let me pivot this to you then. We know the sort of person that Daniel Levy is. He knows that maybe Sonny's. We had a conversation about this on Spurs Talk Show a couple of days ago. Is it the perfect time to sunset the Sonny story? Because at some point you have to hang up your boots as a Tottenham player. At some point, I don't know why Tottenham fans get so angry with me for suggesting this, but is it not a perfect time for him to say goodbye? Let him go off and make generational wealth by going out to Saudi. Saudi would pay Tottenham a lot of money. They would fill up their stadiums that are currently 3/4 empty. all the Korean fans. I don't know if the Korean girl fans are going to be able to get away with their current clobber they like to wear in Riyadh. But at the end of the day, mate, is there an option there? Then if Mark Gahey does end up going to Bayern Munich, could you see Tottenham resurge into the world of trying to get Kim Min-jae and bring him back into Tottenham? Not just because he's a good player, not just because Romero might leave, and then we need a centre back, and he is a talented player for sure. But also the fact that he's Korean, right? You can have that continuity of the revenue streams whilst we're waiting for Yang Min Hyuk to emerge as hopefully the talent that he might be. Is there a little bit of kind of shenanigans that might play there, given the fact that Tottenham have a good relationship with Munich? Is that something you might see materialise?
No, listen, look, we had a time when Conte was there to sign Kim, and Conte turned him down, and he also turned down Kvaratskhelia. Napoli to PSG. So I think that ship has sailed. He's had a lot of injuries, and I don't think Tottenham need another player to add to our injury list. So it's a no from me. Definitely a no from me.
In terms of whether you want it, but could you see it potentially materialising as a story?
Listen, I think with the money that Bayern Munich owes Spurs, they're offering us anyone. Good evening. I have a whole cupboard full of players. Have a look inside. Which one you want? I have Sané here, beautiful player. Yeah.
Yeah, Leroy Sané. Let's talk about him for a second. Again,
I have Leroy. I have Kim. I mean, they are offering us everyone. Anyone.
Well, let's talk about Leroy Sané. Listen, this isn't a Tottenham show, but we're talking about whatever's out there. And Leroy Sané is a massive name. Look, he has come out and said, here's the story for those of you that aren't familiar. Essentially, he's just signed up with Pini Zahavi, the super agent. Bayern Munich want to keep Sané. They don't want to pay what Sané thinks he's worth. And I keep saying Sané. I used to
call him Sané.
I used to call him Sané, but then I watched a load of
Patata.
Whatever, exactly, right? But I'll call him Sané then. He wanted 15 million euros a year, which is about £260,000 a week in our great English pounds money. And the Bayern Munich can't agree it. So he's also said, I want to return to the Premier League, or this is the way the stories are coming out of Germany. He wants to come back to the Premier League, and I want to play in London, yeah. And so if he wants to play in London, then there's three clubs that are reasonable shouts. In all likelihood, he's not going to go to West Ham. I very much doubt he'll go to Palace. And so it's Chelsea, Arsenal, or Tottenham. Now, Chelsea don't need any wingers. They're always looking and sniffing around for whatever's going, but they've got about
more wingers than Nando's, mate. Chelsea
more
don't
wingers
need
than Nando's.
Yeah.
And Arsenal, look, Arsenal apparently are looking at him as well. But Arsenal, Sané's better on the right than anywhere else. He can play off the left. So maybe there's an argument that if they sell Martinelli, maybe you could shoehorn him on the left.
Well, Martinelli's, there are rumours that Martinelli could be leaving, because... Right.
But is Sané get better on the left? I don't think he is, mate. He's a right winger with a left instep. So to me, I'm like, are you going to come and play? Are you going to pay someone 260 grand a week to be back up to Bukayo Saka? I don't see it happening. And so on that basis, are Tottenham front and centre?
I can't see the trigger effect of having to play someone like Sané 250 grand a week when it will be way and above. Listen. The club need to increase its wages to earnings. We're currently sitting at 42% out of our spend, whereas 96% has been spent by Aston Villa. I think to spend it on Sané would be madness, right? Give me Eze, mate. Give me Eze. Yeah. Spend the money on
Eze off the left or in the 10, that's fine. But what do we do on the right? Are we happy with Johnson and Odegaard? I don't know. I mean, Odegaard might be a 10.
We will see. We will see. The night is a mere baby. And as we said the other day, right now, while all the other clubs are at the disco, right, chatting up the birds, Spurs are still waiting for a driver to get to the party. So, there are some clubs making early doors. Liverpool have set off early. Arsenal have done their business early with Zubimendi. Liverpool with Frimpong and Florian Wirtz. Man City. So let's see. I think it's going to kick up now over the next couple of weeks in the lead up to the first transfer window before the Club World Cup. So I think there's going to be a lot of news coming through.
Couple more stories for you, mate. Then let's actually stick with Arsenal. It's not so much of a story; it's more of a non-story. A lot of Arsenal fans, a lot of other fans who are looking at Arsenal are asking the question: what on God's green earth is stopping them from getting the Gyökeres and/or Sesko deal done? Now, the Sesko deal has emerged, or the Sesko price tag has emerged. £91 million is what his club wants. That basically prices him out of all but about 3 clubs, I'd imagine. It's a lot of money for a 22, 23-year-old. He's not the finished article. He's an absolute baller, but he is... I mean, I love him, but 91 million. I mean, even Tottenham have been linked with him, I think, stupidly. That would make the that would smash our record through the roof. Not going to happen, right? But so you sit there and go, well, who's going to want to pay that sort of money? So are Liverpool interested in going and getting a striker? We spoke about this the other day. Are they better off waiting until everybody else that's around them sort of squabbles over whatever scraps are left in the top end of the transfer market, and they wait until next summer to go for Isaac? Well, today, Johnny, the story is that Ekitike is Liverpool's #1 target, and the price that's been offered by Frankfurt, if you want it done, £84 million.
Really? Wow. I thought it'd be around 55 to 60 million. I really did. I think, our club made a big boob last season. We could have got first mover advantage and buying Gyökeres for 70 million euros. We went and spent 65 million on Dom Solanke, and he's not world class. He's not an elite striker. Sesko could be that. 91 million. He's very rich. I thought Ekitike would be around 60.
Ekitike.
Oh, I'm having a pronunciation lesson. Yes. Ekitike. I'll get that in a minute. I'm tongue-tied today. But listen, he doesn't look the same player without Mamouche. When I've watched him in games. But, feed him and, imagine Florian Wirtz feeding him with his pace. And that would be a sight to see, it might be a case that Liverpool will be looking to offset, that fee, getting rid of Nuno, and getting rid of potentially Diaz, maybe. They've got quite a few strikers there. They could release and raise some money from some of their sales themselves to put towards a striker. But listen, there's a few strikers out there, and it's who's going to move first on them. You've got Gyökeres, you've got Ekitike, you've got Sesko, You've got the mask assassin down in Turkey. You've got Delap. There's a lot going, and a lot of clubs need them. I mean, Arsenal probably are the most needy of all clubs for a centre forward right now, because the excuse has been for the last 2 seasons they haven't had a striker. Jesus, he was good, but he wasn't good at nailing the crosses. He's been injured quite a lot, but you can't spend 84 million on him. I think the thing is,
no, but I would happily, just quickly, I would very happily do a deal where it's 50 million and then up to 80, depending on if he bags in 25 goals or whatever.
Yeah, but
extrapolate it out, because I think that he is an absolute baller. I love watching him play. I've done so much on the Y Scout with him, and I know that Romero, and this is actually the greatest example of why Tottenham should move heaven and earth. If you can keep him and his family happy, to keep him. As much as I was like, since January when I started hearing rumors that Romero wanted to go, I was like, if you want to go, bro, I don't want people at the club that don't want to be here or they think they're too good for the club. And there's a bunch of different, reasons to suggest that he hasn't always been invested. But if he is now fully poised and he can convince his family to stay, the performance against from Romero away against Frankfurt, when he pocketed, I think someone put a chat in there saying 84 million for Ekitike. Has he got out of Romero's pocket yet? Romero absolutely destroyed him. Nobody else has done. Nobody else. Not Kim Min-jae, not Jonah Tah, not Hincapi. None of the monster centre backs in German football have handled Ekitike the way that Romero did. But there's an absolute player in Ekitike. I don't think he's 84. He's too young. He hasn't done it long enough yet. But if you could do 50 plus 25, 30 in add-ons, pending how good he does in the transition, I think there's a player there. If Liverpool are interested, mate, I just asked the question. Liverpool have already spent, what was it, 40? How much they spent on Frimpong?
I can't remember the exact fee, actually. He's a lot. But listen, he's going to fight out that position with Conor Bradley, to replace Trent. And remember, Liverpool didn't spend any money last summer. Bugger all they spent.
Yeah, but are they going to drop 200 and?
I think they're going to spend.
They're going to get Florian Wirtz. If someone said Florian Wirtz is going to Madrid, I think Florian Wirtz is going to end up at Liverpool. Maybe it's not 150, maybe it's 120 plus add-ons. But then him, Frimpong, are they really going to drop another 85 or something like that on Ekitike? To me, it's a stretch because you could make the argument that Liverpool also need to add some depth in the six, right? They've still got that Enzo fella who's like, if you're going to drop Gravenberch back a little bit, or you're going to drop the guy who currently plays in the 10, whose name's not coming to my mind right now, drop a little bit to make room for Florian Wirtz. Not McAllister, the other guy.
Who are you talking about? Gravenbach, Sobertsley?
If you're going to drop Sobertsley back a little bit to make room for Florian Wirtz, then I think that there's an argument to say that Liverpool, if they're going to take this as their rebuilding year, they might need one or two more. But if they go and get Ekitike and Florian Wirtz and Frimpong, that's 250 million before they even got out of bed, and that's a lot of money, right? So you're right. Liverpool didn't spend any money last year, but I sit there and think that there's a chance for Tottenham here to sniff around and make a deal happen. But we got to be quick on it because other people are early to the push. They're early to the party, mate.
To everyone,
all the knockout 9 out of 10s, Johnny, they're all being gobbled up by the best looking boys at the party.
Honestly,
and we're still trying to do our hair.
Sean didn't sleep well last night, and he's woken up a little bit delusional today. By the time we get to the disco, Sean, we'll be eating all the munters. We'll have them running around us. Look at me. Yeah. We're all the good ones.
We're doing the in-betweeners dance in Ibiza. We're doing this shit as we go.
We're all the sexy players. Right. Oh, no. Listen, I think, look, we'll have to wait and see. But, just as we get off air, there's another one that drops. What else have you got there? Have you got any more else?
No, and Bumo's going to Newcastle was the last I've seen, but that's about it, really. There's the 5 or 6 big stories, and it's about perfect time to end, Johnny. So
your hourly dose. Your hourly dose of Football Inc., which we hope to be bringing you, if we can, most days, and our shorts. If you're in the chat, guys, please hit the subscribe button. Help us grow the channel. Recommend us to anyone. But we're going to be talking about all things football on here. And
got one more story for you, mate. One more story for you. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. This is the managerial merry-go-round. Gasperini has left Atalanta.
How old is Gasperini now?
72.
72. Yeah. Okay. He's not ready for the Premier League, Sean. Right.
I think he'd be an absolute monster over here.
No, he would be. But, I mean, listen, I'd like someone with a little bit more fresh-faced,
Fair enough.
But I'm sorry.
Ageist bastard. You such an ageist bastard.
Look, Pellegrini did all right last night for at least 45 minutes with Real Betis. Guys, so hit the comments, hit the likes, and please hit the subscribe button. And we hope to see you tomorrow, mate, for some more content. And if your club hasn't been mentioned today, that's because you haven't been linked with anyone, and we'll be endeavouring to talk about your club and link them to as soon as the story comes out, and the uneven between.
See you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for everyone. Thank you, Reese, for the first super chat. Oh, I think we got a second super. Oh, we didn't. That was a question. Do you think that Angie's going for a proper 6?
I think Angie's going at 6 o'clock. Taxi!
We shall see. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy. On Spurs Talk Show, I'll be doing a show this evening about 8 o'clock to go through whatever's going on in the world of Tottenham. There's a few things I want to talk about, some financial stuff as well. So I'll see you then. And until then, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from me.
See you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.